I never thought I would own a battery-powered lawnmower, but after my gas-powered lawnmower that I had for 14 years went up in smoke, here we are. When researching whether to get a battery-powered or gas-powered mower, I reached out to a friend of mine that sells both, and based on his advice and then some research I did, I decided that battery-powered was the right choice for me. And specifically, I went with the STIHL RMA 510V. In this video, I'm going to talk about the advantages I think that the battery-powered mowers have over gas-powered mowers and the reasons why I went with a battery-powered. I'll also talk a little bit about the disadvantages, and I'll also compare the different models that STIHL makes. There are 4 different models, and why I went with the one that I went with. While I haven't been able to use my new mower yet, I did get a chance to demo the RMA 460V. So I do have some feedback of what I think about that I'll share right at the end of the video. The obvious benefits of a battery mower is that there's 0 emissions and you don't ever have to buy gas again, which is great. There's also almost no maintenance on these mowers since there's no oil changes. Really the only thing a user can do is change the blades. You technically can sharpen the blades too. But the manual says that if you sharpen them, you should get them balanced so that you don't throw off the motor. So they recommend just when the blade gets bad, just completely replacing it with a new one. Battery powered mowers typically are pretty quiet as well, which is nice. Another advantage with the self-propelled version of this mower is that you can use the self-propelled even without, turning the mower on, as long as the battery has some juice. So no more pulling, a cord to get your mower started. This mower also folds up nice. You can tip it up on its side, which I'll show in a second, and you don't have to worry about any fluids dripping out like you would with a gas mower. And it has all of the same features that my previous gas mower had. I can bag, I can mulch, or I can side discharge. Another noticeable thing with this mower compared to my gas mower is the weight. So this mower without the batteries weighs about 64 pounds. It's noticeably lighter than my old snapper mower, which was closer to 100 pounds. One of the obvious downsides of battery powered mowers is you do need to make sure you have your batteries charged ahead of time. So if you want to go mow and you didn't charge your batteries already, you can't just go get gas and start mowing. You do need to wait for those to charge. You also need to make sure you have enough battery to cover your entire lawn. I got lucky because I just got this with the new AP500S battery, which has 40% more power and 20% more capacity. So I will be able to run a little bit longer on these batteries than I would have been able to with the 300s. The other obvious downside is the cost. This was quite a bit more expensive than if I would have just went and replaced my mower with the equivalent new version of the old snapper mower I had. So that is another thing to consider. As mentioned earlier, this is the RMA 510V. The other models that exist are, there's a 460, a 460V, and a 510. The V after the number means that it's self-propelled, so the 510 would not be, the 510V is. Other than that, there's mainly 3 differences between the 460 and the 510. The 510 has a larger bag, so if you are bagging your lawn, this will have the bigger bag. I believe it's about 4 gallons bigger than what you would get on the 460. The 510 is also 2 inches wider, so this is a 21-inch deck. The 460 is a 19-inch deck. The last difference is the batteries. So the 510 uses a bigger battery. You can use either the 300 or the 500. I went with the 500 as mentioned earlier. The bigger batteries do have a larger capacity, so you should be able to run for a longer time. Now I'll talk about all the stuff that's the same. The way you raise the deck is the same on all the models. There is a thing back by the back right tire. You just adjust, and that raises all 4 tires. There are numbers along here, 1 to 8. The side discharge or mulch is the same. So right now I got the side discharge in there just because that's the way it came. If you pop this out, you can then mulch. When you mulch or side discharge, you do need to make sure that this plug is in the back. Just goes right in there. And if you decide to bag, you would want to take this out like that. and put the bag on. Bagging is the same as mulching. You would leave this side down. The controls are all the same as well. The only difference is with the V models, you'll have the self-propelled option, and without you won't. You do need to push this button in first and then pull up the bottom bar for it to engage. If you don't do it in that order, it won't engage. So if I just push the button, or if I just pull this up, it won't do it. I gotta push the button in and then pull this up. And then as mentioned earlier, even without it on, I can still use the self-propelled. So if you pull that in, it'll automatically go. As long as there's some juice in the battery, the self-propel will work even if the mower's not on. There are different height adjustments that work the same between all the models. Pull them straight out, turn them 90 degrees on each side. Once it's there, you can move this up and down. If I put it all the way up, you can maybe see there's 3 different notches. So you have 3 different heights there. But the other thing this lets you do is flip it all the way forward. And you can lock it in this position. So now it's folded up like this. I believe you can also loosen these to fold it up even more, but I like it in this position for storage. So you do need to make sure you take the bag out. And then you can tip it up right on its side, or on its back, I guess. And this folds up nicely. You can set it along the wall. This also makes it easy to clean. You do want to make sure you take out the fuse in the batteries just so there's no chance this could start while you're under here. You don't ever want to use water. You just want to wipe it out with a rag or a light brush. You don't actually want to get this mower wet at all. You don't even want to mow in wet grass. It's very important you keep the mower dry. The inside of these models are essentially identical as well. The bottom battery slot is the active battery you're using. The top slot is actually just storage. That does not drive the mower at all. So the idea is you'd put your secondary battery there. Once the first one died, you'd swap them out. But again, you do have to swap them. That top one's not actually going to do anything other than storage. This is your key or your fuse. If you take this out, it won't start. If the battery's out, it won't start as well. These mowers also have the eco mode. So basically what that does is it allows the motor to throttle down if the grass is thinner and doesn't need to use as much power. That will help maintain the battery. If it's on the 1, it's on. If it's on the 0 or 0, it's off. If you like binary, binary 1 is true, the feature's on. Binary 0 is false, the feature's off. And if you do want to check your battery charge, you can push this button here and it'll light up. This is a full charge. As this goes down, it'll get down to the last one and start blinking when that one's getting exhausted. So one of the main reasons I went with the 510 versus the 460 was the size of the mower and the larger batteries. I do have a fairly decent sized lawn, and my old gas mower was a 22-inch deck, so I didn't really want to go much smaller. I wanted the 21-inch deck. The V versus not V, my yard is a bit hilly, so I did want the self-propelled. I use that a lot on my old mower, but I will need to be a little bit careful with this one because that is another thing that can drain the battery, so I won't want to use it probably as often just to help reduce the drain on my battery. I also like that the 510 used the larger batteries, both for more capacity when I'm mowing, but also there's a wider range of equipment that STIHL makes that uses the larger batteries, so I'll have a few more options there. I also have this sweet case for my charger and batteries. Everything fits in here nice. One thing just to note is that the shape of these inserts, if you can see, there's a little notch here. So when you put these in, you can see, hopefully, that the battery notch is out right there. So you want to make sure that you line that up with that so it slides in nice and secure. And if you put it the other way, it's going to be kind of hard to pull out. As I mentioned earlier, I was able to use a demo unit of the 460V, and it really gave me a good feel for this mower. So there are a couple things I can talk about already, even though I haven't used this mower because they're identical, that I know will be similar. So one of the biggest complaints I read online about this mower is how uncomfortable it is while you're using it, because you need to hold that bar up from the bottom. While I agree it's not the most comfortable, I think that's a little exaggerated. I didn't think it was that bad. And after using it a couple times, I was mostly used to it. The main thing that I would switch if I could is the positions of them. So my old mower, you held down the top bar to keep it running and the bottom bar was for the self-propelled. This is opposite, so it's just taking a little getting used to. So I think I would just switch the locations more than trying to make it more comfortable. The eco mode actually worked pretty well, and being able to turn it off is nice because I do have a patch of grass in the back of my yard that gets long and I really don't want it to ever idle down. The other, not really problem, but thing to keep in mind with the eco mode is when it does throttle down the motor, it is similar to like when the battery's starting to drain. So you might think like the battery's starting to go. So just keep that in mind if you have that on. When it throttles down, it could be going into eco mode, or it could be because your battery's almost dead. Speaking of the battery getting low, really the only indication you have is that it does throttle down. You can push the button on the battery to see how much charge it has left, and the cover over the battery is also see-through, so you can see it through there. But as far as I could tell, it never warned me ahead of time. I always could tell it was starting to die when the mower throttled down when I didn't expect it to. And it was often kind of predictable based on how long I'd been running it that the battery would be getting close to exhausted. The self-propelled option has a bit of a delay when you engage and disengage it. So when you pull it down, it takes about a second before it starts going. When you let go, it keeps going for a little bit. That definitely takes some getting used to. So I had to kind of train myself to disengage it sooner than expected so that it actually stops when I want it to. Also, after you disengage it and it stops, sometimes pulling it back's kind of hard. It kind of locks the tire in place. I read through the manual when I get the new one. It actually recommends not ever pulling it back. I think that's more of a safety thing because they don't want you pulling the mower towards you and rolling into you. But if you do want to go backwards, you do need to wait a little bit for that to disengage and fully release that tire before you can pull it back, because it will be kind of locked in place for a little bit. I do like that when the battery's drained and the mower stops cutting grass, that you can still use the self-propelled. So if you don't have a spare battery and you want to get back to your garage, at least the couple times I've ran out of juice, I've still been able to use the self-propelled to get back to the garage. It just didn't have enough to run the motor to cut grass. I am very excited to try this new unit. I think the larger deck with the larger battery is going to be great. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. And as always, let me know your thoughts and questions in the comments. Thanks for watching.